Welcome back to the Record Player, everybody. Scott with you. I am thrilled today to have with me someone I've admired forever as a singer and a songwriter. Her career took off as Canada's metal queen, but it has taken her from metal queen to jazz queen to blues queen. Last year, she was the Christmas queen with her first Christmas record. But I think we can all just agree that she is pretty much simply just Canada's queen of rock and roll. She has a brand new album out called Elevate right here.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
They
That's
don't send
good.
me a they don't send me a real one. This is remember back in the day when we used to
Oh,
get ones with the punch through it? I miss those.
okay.
It's called Elevate. On top of it all, she is a fellow Bramptonian. So welcome to the record player, Lee. How are you?
I'm doing really well, other than the fact that I was spent most of the day yesterday shoveling my driveway, which is a really rare occurrence when you live in the Vancouver area. But not so much when you're from Brampton
Oh God.
originally. So yeah, I mean, I'm doing good, just gearing up for Christmas. I'm happy to have my daughter, or our daughter, sorry. She uh, left in September to go to this sort of prestigious musical theater college, and she's back for Christmas. So I'm very excited about that, like a normal mom would be, right?
Awesome. So full house for Christmas. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that, on Elevate. It is a fantastic record. I mentioned all the different directions in the intro there that your career has taken you. This record, and I guess the same can be said for probably the last few records as well, is that you've managed to mix that rock and roll Lee Aaron with the bluesy Lee Aaron, and with with certain songs on the record, you can certainly hear that mixture. Is that something that you sort of felt during the process of making the record? Is that it's sort of a mix of a lot of different genres for you? It's a rock and roll album for sure, but
Love everybody that I work with in my band. Dave Reimer on bass, Sean Kelly on guitar, my husband John Cody on drums. And it's not that we all come from different disciplines, but we all have, besides being in a rock band, explored genres that are different disciplines. Like Sean is a classically trained guitarist.
mm,
Um, Dave has played everything from alt folk to pop in Bryan Adams, and he loves that style of music. My husband John currently plays also in like a big band that does like Glenn Miller Orchestra and songs anywhere from the 30s to the 60s old big band jazz. And of course I've done jazz and blues. So we have that in our arsenal in terms of the disciplines that we have. And so it's hard to not allow those to creep a little bit into some of the songwriting. Even on, say, the last album, Radio On, there was a song called Russian Doll, and we were in the middle of rehearsing it, and I said this to Sean. I said, it would be really cool if you could play something that sounds Russian sounding. And like he was just like he knew exactly what to do instantly, because he has such a vast musical landscape to be able to draw on. Um, so it's hard for those things not to creep into some of our pop rock songwriting. But to me, that's what makes it, fun, and what makes it unique, and what makes it uniquely Lee Aaron with this particular band that I'm working with, who are my dream team. I love them.
I love some of the first couple of songs on the record start off like what I call dirty rock and roll. Thing, kind of takes you back to What You Do to My Body and that kind of the older stuff. I love a song like Still Alive because it's got that bluesy feel. It's a fantastic song. Do you have any favorite songs on the record?
I don't like that. That's one question I hate getting asked, because they're all like your
They're all good.
children, right? So, I like them all. Yeah, I see what you're saying about Still Alive, that we always seem to find a place like with Still Alive and Spitfire Woman where we kind of lock into that sort of dirty bluesier vibe, right? Um, I really love like Troublemaker. I know when Sean sent me those he pieced together these riffs and to make an actual arrangement when he had sent it to me, and I was just like, he said, this is kind of weird because some of those chords are strange inversions, but he sent it to me, and he just kept saying it's a really weird idea, and I'm like, no, it sounds like the Rolling Stones. I love it. What are you talking
Mhm.
about? And of course it evolved into the song Troublemaker, which I literally listened to the song twice, and that came in my head, and I was singing it and I couldn't get it out of my head. And so yeah, I like that one. I love the song Elevate. That was an idea that Dave Reimer brought into the fold. He had sent me this song idea that he had, but and the only thing he was singing was Let's Elevate. And I'm like, man, I love that. But we were literally going into the studio in like a week, and I was like, I don't know if we're gonna have time to work on it and finish it. And we ended up, thankfully, with a little extra time in the studio. And I'm like, let's do that idea. Let's just work an arrangement up on the spot, and that's what we did. We did it in the studio at the last minute, and I just got walked up to the mic and just sang a lot of gibberish that
Sometimes,
kind of rhymed but didn't make a lot of sense. And but
sometimes,
sometimes I find that those first instinctive ideas are pretty cool, and
mhm.
so I kept a lot of it.
I was going to say sometimes on the spot and last minute turn into the,
Mhm.
the greatest songs ever. My favorite song on the record, and I've always liked the mellow Lee Aaron and sort of the ballad Lee Aaron. Red Dress is a beautiful song. I
Oh,
love
thank
that song.
you.
That to me sounds like something I want to hear live on stage. It's almost like I don't know, just with videos behind you of the past and the future. It just, I think it's a fantastic song. The
Thanks so much.
uh, I want to go back to the Metal Queen thing because it sort of took on
Mm.
a life of its own when you first came out with
Yep.
it. You
Yeah.
were never really comfortable with that, were you? I mean, you were never really comfortable. That song was kind of supposed to be um, a song about the sexism in music and about sort of not a rallying cry, but not necessarily um, a song that was supposed to put a young girl out in wearing fishnets and stuff out in the spot. You were never comfortable with that image, were you? I mean, I don't want to say you weren't comfortable with it, but that wasn't what you were trying to say, what you were trying to portray.
No, no. So the you know meaning behind the song when it was I mean, obviously the song was written and recorded and completed before there was any imagery, any video. It was like, this has got to be this is a pushback, you know, against all of that rampant sexism in the
Yeah.
80s, where women were looked at strictly as kind of um, props to make the male rock stars look more virile. And
Music video girls, right?
yeah, 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 exactly. And so that was the original inspiration behind the song. However, um, it kind of took on a life of its own, because you got to remember the culture that I was, and the time frame in which I was releasing that song. It was just a different animal, the whole music industry, the way that it operated. I
Yeah.
mean, I walked into literally like the photo session and and there, like, not there was like the photographer, but then there was the art direction and the wardrobe girl, and it's like, so somehow this got massaged into this sort of like gothic um warrior princess kind of image. And I was kind of like going, like, yeah, it was I think I lacked the confidence and the full understanding of the scope of things to really just go, well, uh, maybe I'm not completely comfortable with this. It was their job to understand how to sell something. So, being a 21-year-old girl at the time, I was like, well, they're doing their job. I'm supposed to go along with them doing their job. And like, again, I don't want to disappoint fans that are big, that love that song, and um, for them to think that it's inauthentic. It's not inauthentic, but it wasn't exactly fully my image. And then the more we discussed it, we were like, well, it's sort of like this. It's supposed to be cartoon like, it's a good triumphs over evil. And I'm like, okay, I can make this work. I can go along with this. But because it, was sandwiched in between like Motley Crue with all the video girls and Wasp with all the video girls that they were
Right.
lighting on fire and half dressed. And, you know, it was hard for 14-year-old boys not to just look at it with a particular tunnel vision and just go, holy, she's our metal goddess, and so it sort of became exactly what I didn't intend it to be back then, if that makes sense. And
It
then
does.
the media, of course, the media loves to put everything into a box
Right.
because it's easy to sell it that way. Here I am, the woman this age that I am. I've done it, I've got a huge body of work beyond the song Metal Queen. And it's just a default mechanism for every media outlet to call me the Metal Queen still. And I'm like,
I'm
how,
sorry.
if I ever dreamed that it would be a legacy, I would still be, you know, trying to, like 82, like 40 years later,
Right.
that I would still be going like, I'm still being labeled this way. I don't think I realized that at the time or ever really thought it through. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know,
Was that labeling and that kind of stereotype what made you sort of lean away from doing rock and roll music for a while and getting into the different
so
genres?
well, it was one of the reasons, definitely. You know,
Family.
Again, like I said, the media loves to run with stuff, and so for years and years, it wasn't just Metal Queen, it was everything that went along with the idea of a woman that was the Metal Queen. I must be, promiscuous. I must be a hard drinking, hard rocking, hard living chick. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And my real life couldn't really have been further from the truth. And
Mm.
it diminished, to me, the music that I was trying to create. It diminished what I was trying to do musically, having that sort of image hung around my neck. And so, yeah, there were a few years, I'm just like, screw everybody. I'm not doing this anymore. I've got it. I'm doing something completely different to prove to you that I'm not one dimensional.
Right.
And so, yeah, that was part of it for
Um,
sure.
I want to mention the Christmas record. It came out in 2020. It got reissued again last year. What made you want to do a Christmas record? The reason why I ask is because I'm not a big fan of Christmas music because it seems like every artist that does a Christmas album, it's just standards. It's the same songs that Celine Dion sings and Michael Bublé sings and all the different people.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
record's different because it's a lot of different stuff. It's not just the standards, right? There's some older stuff on there, but what made you decide to do a Christmas record? More importantly, how do you decide what songs you're going to sing for a Christmas album?
Yeah, well, I can tell you exactly how it came together. The inspiration for the Christmas album, or the initial idea, came from Sean Kelly. Sean loves Christmas. We all love Christmas in this band, but Sean had previously done a Christmas guitar album, and when COVID had all come down and we had our summer shut down, and we were all just trying to sort of find our bearings. It got to be like, I don't know, I think it might have been the beginning of the September, and we were all sort of reassessing, and Sean just called me up. He goes, why don't we do a Christmas album? He said, no. And there were a couple of reasons behind that. It wasn't um, so much that I cared about making a Christmas record, because there's only a few Christmas records I actually really like,
Me too.
Ella's Swinging Christmas to be one of them. Um, but it was a great project to keep us connected as a band, to keep us doing something musically. And at the time, we just felt it was a wonderful, uplifting project to bring to the table for our fans, to kind of put a little bit of positivity and positive energy out there to do that. So really, initially, it was Sean's idea. And then, of course, everybody was on board. But I was like, it's September. How are we actually going to get an album selected, the songs selected, recorded, done, finished, mixed by the end of October?
Mhm.
because that's the time frame. I'm like, most people start planning a Christmas record in the spring. And we're like, we can do this. We can do this. So we did it in our home studios. And I think he called me on a Thursday. And by the end of the weekend, I sat down with my husband, who has this massive music library. I think you're probably, I don't know if you know that. My husband is one of the biggest vinyl collectors on the planet.
Yeah, he's my hero.
And yeah,
He's my
it's
vinyl
like,
hero.
yeah. And yeah, we just started going through songs. Sean had thrown some songs, and I think David thrown some songs into the mix as well. And my feeling was, if we're going to do a Christmas record, we can't do a Christmas record that's Silent Night and, you know, these same songs that everybody else does. We need to do something that's a fun little rock and roll Christmas record. And then my husband we just went through a bunch of songs, and he played me things, and I wanted something landed, and I went, ooh, that really resonates with me. I really like it. Um, I was like, let's do that one. Like we do an Eels cover,
Yeah.
it's the first song on the album. And I'd never heard that song before. And when I heard it, I'm like, I could hear us doing that. And so we tried to make it a Christmas record with a twist, a little bit different. Yeah.
That's good. You're hitting the road again in January. I know you mentioned that last summer got kind of wiped out. You're hitting the road again in January. I'll be at the Rama show with the Headpins in Toronto. That looks like it's going to be awesome. How bad are you looking forward to getting back on a stage in front of people? Is that your
Well,
bucket?
I am. This summer, we caught up with a few things this past summer. We got to go back to Europe 3 times, and because they were pre-COVID bookings that we were scheduled to do. And we did a few more shows this summer, and it was just really nice to sort of get back in the groove. But this summer, yeah, I'm excited. A bunch of dates have come in already before Christmas, which is not always the case. But I guess people are making their plans already for next year. And so we anticipate a few more are going to be coming in. And I'm just so excited because the guys in my band, not only are they wonderful players, but they're just some of my favorite people in the whole wide world. I love hanging out with them. And they really, there's kind of been, I feel like, 2 real creative incarnations of the Lee Earn thing. One was many years ago in my heyday with John Albany, who was, again, still a great friend. I love him. He's such a creative person. He's a producer now and has a studio in Nashville. He wrote some of my biggest hits with me. And then there's phase 2, which is my phase 2 with Dave Reimer, John Cody, Sean Kelly. These guys really, we are a democracy, and they really are. I can't impart enough the how much I value them and how much they are a real part of the Lee Earn creative team, and how much they bring to the table. They're such valuable people, just members of this whole thing. So yeah.
Well, I haven't seen you perform live in about 20 years, so it's for me, it's going to be awesome to get to that show. I want to do a real quick before we let you go, because I'm from Brampton. Obviously, we have a lot of our viewers are in the Brampton area. So, very quick Brampton Q&A, just to see what you remember from your.
Oh no, I have the world's worst memory,
So do I.
but
So even
hey,
as I was
everyone's memory is selective, right?
even as I was writing these questions, I was like,
Okay.
dude, I don't remember half of it.
Okay.
Best place. These are real quick, so fire them off. Best place in Brampton to see live music: Spanky's, Spot One, or Hot Rocks?
Hot Rocks.
Not a girl. I met you at Hot Rocks actually a long time ago. My buddies and I were there to see a Brampton band called Broken Halo. So we're going back 30 years. I think Sebastian Bach was in that band.
Oh wow.
Yeah, at
Wow,
Hot
wow.
Rocks that night.
Okay. Hot Rocks was the place for rock
Yeah,
shows. Yeah.
absolutely. In the stands at a Bramley Blues game or skating at the Civic Center?
Skating at the Civic Center. I
Yeah.
have to say, skating was my thing.
Where did you hang out? City Center or Shoppers World?
Both.
Both? Yeah, I was more.
Yeah, trying to remember. City Center came later. Like when I was really little, there was only Shoppers World,
Sure.
right? And then City Center came later. So,
When I was a teenager, I worked at Sam the Record Man in City Center, so that was my mall.
ah,
The best outdoor summer drink in Ching Park, Professor's Lake, or Chassels?
oh,
Ching.
well, I have to be, I lived a bit of a sheltered teenagerhood. I wasn't allowed to go many places, so probably Chinguacousy Park.
All right. Best after bar food: Denny's on Bramley Road or Sonny's on Queen Street? This should be automatic.
Sonny's. No?
There. Best greasy food in the world: Sonny's on Queen Street after Hot Rocks.
Yes.
The new record is called Elevate. Right here, Lee Aaron. It's awesome. It can be found at all the usual platforms: Apple, Spotify, and of course, leeaaron.com. Thank you so much for being with me today. I appreciate the time. I wish you the best of luck on the tour and with the record. And I hope you guys have a very Merry Christmas.
Oh, you have a great Christmas as well. Lovely talking to you.
Thank you, Lee. Take care.